It was still dark outside when I heard the knock. Sharp, urgent. The kind of knock that doesn't just wake you, it makes your chest pound, makes your stomach drop. I checked the clock. 5:02 a.m. No one knocks at that hour unless something is seriously wrong. I pulled on a sweatshirt over my pajamas and padded barefoot to the door, each step echoing in the silent house. The cold air seeped through the crack beneath the door, raising goosebumps on my arms. When I opened it, my neighbor, Gabriel Stone, stood there. His face was pale, almost grey, and his eyes darted around like he was being hunted. His usual calm, distant demeanor was gone, replaced by raw urgency. "Don't go to work today," he said, voice low and strained. "Stay home. Just trust me." I froze. Gabriel. Quiet. The man who barely spoke to anyone. I barely knew him. And yet here he was, shaking like a leaf, speaking in urgent whispers that made my skin crawl. What's happening?" I asked, my voice trembling. He shook his head slowly. "I can't explain right now. Just promise me you won't leave the house." Not for anything. A rational part of me wanted to dismiss it. Maybe he'd lost it. But another part, the part I'd learned to trust after years of paying attention to instinct, told me this was different, dangerous, real. I thought of my father. 3 months ago, he had died suddenly. Officially, it was a stroke. But in the weeks before, he had been trying to warn me about something important. He had said, "It's about our family. It's time you knew." Now, the signs were impossible to ignore. Strange cars lingering near my house. Blocked calls that went unanswered. My sister Sophie calling from overseas, concerned about new people in the neighborhood. Little things that didn't make sense on their own. But together, they painted a picture that terrified me. Someone was watching. Someone was planning. And I didn't know why. My name is Alyssa Rowan. I'm 33 years old. I live alone in the house my grandmother left me. I work as a financial analyst. I've never missed work unless I was genuinely sick. My life is predictable, structured, safe. Until today. I weighed fear against logic. If Gabriel was wrong, I'd lose a personal day. If he was right, it could save my life. I sent a text to my manager. I couldn't come in due to a personal emergency. Then I waited. Minutes crawled by. Every sound felt amplified. The ticking clock in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator, the wind rattling the windows. Each noise felt like a warning, each shadow in the corner of the room like a sign of something watching. By 11:30 a.m., I began to doubt myself. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe Gabriel had been wrong. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. "Ma'am," said a calm, professional voice. "This is Officer Taylor with the county police. Are you aware of a critical incident that occurred at your workplace this morning?" My blood ran cold. I wasn't at work. Not even close. My hand shook as I gripped the phone. What incident?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The officer's calm, steady tone only made the words worse. "There was a violent attack at your workplace this morning. Several employees were injured. We have reason to believe you were present." I froze, my pulse shot up. That was impossible. I had been home all morning. Every minute accounted for. My keycard was in my pocket. My car hadn't moved. "That's impossible," I stammered, my voice cracking. "I wasn't there. I didn't go to work today." A pause. Then the question that made my stomach drop like a stone. Can anyone verify that? I looked around my empty living room. No one. No alibi. Nothing. "No," I whispered. "I live alone." "Ms. Rowan," the officer continued, voice careful, security footage, shows your vehicle entering the parking garage at 8:02 a.m. You're Keycard was used to access the building. You were last seen on the 3rd floor before the attack. Items belonging to you were recovered near the scene. I felt my chest tighten. My body went cold. Someone had stolen my identity, my presence, my life. Everything about me had been replicated to make it look like I was there. The footage is corrupted, the officer said quietly. We can see your vehicle and the plates clearly, but the occupant is unidentifiable. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Every detail, every step, it was planned. A flood of small, overlooked moments from the past weeks surged through my mind. The black SUV parked near my driveway for hours. The blocked calls from unknown numbers. Sophie calling from overseas, asking if I noticed anyone new in the neighborhood. It all made sense now. Every little warning, every uneasy feeling, it was preparation. I was the target. The officer's tone dropped lower, more urgent. Units will be arriving at your address shortly. Do not leave the premises. For your safety, and for questioning. My throat went dry. Why question me if I hadn't done anything? Panic and reason collided in my mind. The rational part screamed at me to run. But another part, the part that had been quietly aware, alert for weeks, knew better. Then there was a knock. Sharp, controlled, deliberate. Voice I recognized immediately called out. Alyssa, it's Gabriel. Open the door. We need to talk. My chest tightened. How had he known? How had he seen this coming? I pressed myself against the wall, eyes darting. How did you? I asked through the door. Because, he said low and urgent, they're not coming to help you. They're coming to take you. You were never meant to wake up this morning in your own bed. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, even the wind rattling the windows suddenly felt like warnings. My world, the quiet, predictable life I had known, was gone. And yet, in that instant, I realized something vital. I wasn't alone. Gabriel had been watching. And for the first time today, I felt hope. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering, as Gabriel's voice cut through the silence. Alyssa, don't argue. Just open the door. Every instinct screamed that this could be a trap, but the other part of me, the one that had noticed strange cars, blocked calls, and my father's cryptic warnings urged me to trust him. Slowly I cracked the door. Gabriel slipped inside without hesitation. His eyes scanned the house like he was expecting someone or something to appear at any moment. They're coming, he said quietly. Unmarked vehicles. They won't ask questions. They'll take you by force if necessary. You have minutes. My chest tightened as adrenaline surged. My identity had been stolen. Someone had made it look like I was part of a violent attack at my own workplace. And now, they were coming for me. Fear tried to take over, but clarity broke through. This wasn't just survival, it was about uncovering the truth. Why me? I asked, voice trembling. Gabriel's expression remained steady. Your father's life wasn't ordinary. He uncovered things dangerous people wanted buried. And you were never supposed to wake up today. The words hit me like ice. My father, dead. His warnings. Every strange incident in the last few months, the black SUV, the blocked calls. Sophie's questions suddenly made sense. I had been the target all along. Gabriel handed me a small black envelope. My father's handwriting was unmistakable. If you are reading this, trust no one but Gabriel. Your life and the truth of who you are depend on it. I swallowed hard. My life as I knew it was gone. But for the first time in weeks, fear felt controlled. My father's note was proof someone had been looking out for me. Someone had prepared me for this day. Gabriel moved to the door. We leave now. Take only what you need. Don't look back. I grabbed my keys, wallet, and the note, and followed him out. As we slipped into his SUV, I glanced through the rear window. Black vehicles were closing in silently, like predators. Gabriel's hands were steady on the wheel. We're going somewhere safe first. Then you'll understand why they've been watching you your whole life. My pulse raced, but clarity replaced panic. Fear had sharpened into focus. My life was gone. But I was awake now. And I was ready. The drive was silent for nearly 20 minutes. No music, no small talk. Just the steady hum of the engine and the road stretching endlessly ahead of us. Trees thickened around the highway, swallowing cell signal bars one by one. Whatever safe meant to Gabriel, it wasn't anywhere public. Finally, he spoke. Before we reach the vault, there's something you need to understand. Once you hear this, there's no unlearning it. My fingers tightened around the envelope from my father. Then tell me. Gabriel exhaled slowly. Your father wasn't just investigating financial crimes. He uncovered a classified federal program buried so deep it technically doesn't exist. A biogenetic initiative tied to influential families and government contractors. When he realized what they were doing, he tried to shut it down. I stared out the window as the words settled. Doing what? Tracking and exploiting people with rare genetic traits, he said. People whose blood showed abnormal immunity markers. Resistance to toxins. Viral resilience. Regenerative potential. He glanced at me. You were one of them. My breath caught. That's insane. That's what your father thought too until he found your blood samples stored in facilities he never authorized. You were being studied without his consent. Without yours, the road narrowed into a forest path. My heart pounded harder with every bump. So my father, he tried to pull you out, Gabriel said. He filed reports. Contacted oversight committees. That made him a liability. His death wasn't natural. The words crushed me. Grief surged hot and sharp. I had mourned him as a victim of fate. Now, I saw him as a man who had died protecting his daughter from something monstrous. We stopped in front of what looked like an abandoned service bunker, half buried beneath vines and rusted metal. Gabriel killed the engine. This is where he hid the evidence. Everything he died to protect. Inside, the air was cold and sterile. We moved through narrow corridors until we reached a sealed vault door. Only your DNA can open it, Gabriel said. My hands trembled as I placed my palm against the scanner. A soft pulse of light ran beneath my skin. The door unlocked with a deep mechanical hum. Inside was a single pedestal. On it lay my father's journal. I opened it, my chest tightening as his handwriting stared back at me. They didn't create you. They found you. You are proof that evolution doesn't need permission. And that terrifies them. Tears blurred the page. At the back of the room, a terminal lit up with two options. Compliance protocol, disclosure protocol. Gabriel met my eyes. One keeps you alive under their control. The other exposes everything to the world. I wiped my face. Hands steady now. My fear was gone. They took my father, I said quietly. They tried to erase me. They don't get to decide what happens next. I pressed disclosure. Alarms began to blare. But for the first time since dawn, I wasn't running. I was choosing. The alarms echoed like a war drum as red lights flooded the bunker. The terminal screen filled with scrolling data names, dates, financial transfers, medical logs, my father's life's work pouring into the world in real time. Gabriel grabbed my arm. Once this finishes, there's no going back. I didn't hesitate. Good. Outside, helicopters thundered overhead. The people who had hunted me were finally exposed and desperate. News alerts exploded across the terminal's side feed. Breaking. Classified human experiment program leaked. Government officials denied involvement, then contradicted themselves within minutes. Arrest warrants followed. Resignations came faster than explanations. We escaped through a secondary tunnel as the bunker shook. By the time we reached daylight, the truth had already gone viral. My face was everywhere, But this time, not as a criminal. As evidence. 3 weeks later, the world looked different. The men responsible for the program stood before congressional committees, their power stripped away by sunlight. Sophie, the co-worker who'd helped frame me, accepted a plea deal. She never once looked up when I testified. I didn't need revenge on her. The truth had already destroyed her life. My father's name was cleared posthumously. A memorial fund was created in his honor. The official reports called him a whistleblower. A hero. As for me, I disappeared. Not out of fear but choice. I changed my name. Crossed borders. Learned how to live without watching every shadow. Gabriel kept his promise, making sure I stayed ahead of anyone who might try to rebuild what had been destroyed. One evening, months later, I stood on a quiet shoreline, waves brushing my boots. My phone buzzed once. A single message from Gabriel. They're done. Completely. I stared at the horizon, breathing in the salt air. They had tried to reduce me to a file, a specimen, a problem to erase. Instead, I became the reason their world collapsed. My father once wrote that power survives in darkness. But truth is patient. It waits for the right moment to burn everything down. I slipped his journal into my bag and turned away from the water. They took my past.